Hello everyone, this is Shriyank, and we will be discussing the concept of social impact today, which is primarily from the development economics part. And as the name suggests, social impact, so it is not apparently very mathematical concept, but that's what we will see throughout this video, that how we can show mathematically or using the numbers how to go about this whole concept of social impact. So as we all know, the economics is I mean, by definition it is the mm, studying human behavior and more importantly how humans make choices given some constraints. Economics is also majorly about quantifying the qualitative things behind the subjective things, because human nature and behavior and the choices we make is most of the times uh, not predictable. And though we assume that economic agents are rational, but the new advancements of behavioral economics and all these theories have given us ample proofs that we are not always rational. So that's why it becomes crucial to kind of quantify and to kind of formulate everything in a way that we can compare the different aspects. So we will move on to that. And I would like to mention that the reason for choosing this social impact as a topic of the discussion today is because nowadays we are often we as in engineers, particularly because our campus consists of 80% of engineers and even managers also, the MBAs who are eventually going to be, we are often criticized by saying that you know we should always be involved in a productive work, in a engineering work, the construction, the manufacturing, building something, some products, innovation, particularly in the science and field and area. And there is also a lot of criticism about we wasting the taxpayers and government's money, which it spends on the education of engineers, particularly government institutes like provincial IITs and IITs and everything. So there is a lot of negativity around there, that those who leave the engineering career path and choose something different, so it is often given them that socially they are not doing really good as a choice and everything. So often used to wonder that why, where this comes from, and and what's the logic behind it, and how we should approach it, and how we should solve it. So from that, I started reading about the social impact concept and everything, and some phenomenal things came around. So let us quickly go into this. So first, I will start with that. Whenever I say social impact, what are the things that come to your mind? So many people would assume some NGO, like I am starting some NGO, and then I am working for charity, or then I am helping some underprivileged children, or maybe some older people in their old age, like Helpage India, or something like Cries hereby, or something in the sector of let's say human trafficking, everything. So a lot of areas, so where people who are underprivileged or who are marginalized, who don't get the opportunities that as we get, so working to help them. This is the broad domain under which all the social activities come, and usually social impact is measured in how good you um, present yourself to help someone. Like if I give some charity of 10 lakh or 20 lakh rupees to some NGO and everything, so I will be considered as a very socially aware person and a very good person. And if there is someone who is just doing his job and paying, obviously paying taxes and everything, but not specifically directly giving the money to the some charity and all, so he or she will not be considered as per our societal norms as a very socially aware or active, or the social good doing person. So when we think about this, what we are doing here is we are restricting ourselves to thinking that social impact only means in monetary terms, in how I can, in how many ways I can help. And also it is kind of has become a stereotype that that you should do some good, do something for the society by helping someone, by giving money, by giving your time and everything. So, but what I would like to do is I would like to go a step ahead and to just ask myself, and we should also ask ourselves all these questions, that if such is the case, if the social impact is defined by these money, giving money to some NGO or starting some NGO and these things, or being seen as a helper, then all the soldiers which are doing something for the country are obviously the best social impactors, right? By that logic, or the doctors who essentially save the lives are the best social impactors. And by this logic, which usually comes from the socialist mindset, all the people who are earning too much money, let's say some big entrepreneurs, business tycoons, so according to this thought process, they should not be considered as a very socially helpful, or have making very large social impact. So but this doesn't sound really well thought of, because if we see that we have a lot of people like Ambanis and Tatas and all, who have done tremendous good for the country, because we read in that terms always about them. So how to go about it, as a normal person, as a someone who is a student of, let's say, I am Indore, and who wants to think on these lines, forget about the big names, because everybody cannot be like them. So how we can go about it? So I will explain the different ways, particularly 4 to 5 ways of going about the social impact, and it will kind of make it clear that how to think about all this thing. And also, one very important issue that I will like to address is it will also include how we can think like an economist would think about this social impact thing, and also in general development economics. So the first area that I would like to touch is the research. Now, I would start by saying that oftentimes it is argued that universities spend too much amount of money on the research, most of which it doesn't bring some tangible outputs. Even the big organizations are spending too much money on their R&D. We are also it is often argued that we are spending unnecessarily too much on the space research missions, like recently we had Chandrayaan 2. So similar things, like there is this argument that many people in India are hungry, and they are poor, they need monetary help, they need money for their life to sustain. Then why are we spending so much money on space research missions and everything? So this seems very at first this seems very logical, right? Because you have got some money, so why spend it on something which just doesn't affect the lives or daily people? But this is where the superficial thinking stops, and we have to go beyond what is just on the surface, and go beyond the tangibles. So I would like to give an example of Alan Turing, who was the a very renowned mathematician in the era of World War II. So it is said that he developed a decoding system. There was a machine like a computer. It was not called a computer at that time, so let's call it machine. So he developed a decoding machine, because of which the allies, they could who were fighting the Nazis and those powers, so they could basically decode the signals in which the Nazis used to communicate between each other. So because of that, so these machines, so they help them to decode the Nazi signals, and some historians believe that it helped the World War that the proceed in such a way that it ended 1 year before the what would have been if the Alan Turing wouldn't have discovered the machine. So basically, what happened is that because of his machine, they could quickly move their artilleries and their armies by decoding the signals. So then Nazis would respond, and these guys would respond. So the basically it expedited the speed in which the war was held, and eventually it ended 1 year before. So now, and historians also estimated that around 10 million or something lives were basically gone per year in the World War era. So we can indirectly say that because of the Alan Turing's the device, things got speed up and the World War ended 1 year before. So indirectly, Alan Turing's that machine, or let's say Alan Turing, helped save 10 million lives because that's what was the cost of 1 year in the World War era. So I know this is very indirect and this is not a directly because there were many things involved, but that one research led to such a big transform. Another example which will be more relevant to us that I want to give is that we as a whole world, not as in India, but completely as a whole world, we have invested a lot in the space research, satellites. We have sent hundreds of satellites in the sky, in the space, and many of them then helped us to actually formulate the maps system, that is the Google Maps, which is based on that. So basically geostationary satellites and the global positioning system. So because we could have the geostationary satellites and the concept of mapping of the world on a flat, and then Google was there which developed the Google Maps, and now on Google Maps two very important companies, one the global player Uber, and definitely the Indian counterpart Ola. If you think in a way, those two are completely based on Google Maps. I mean, if Google Maps was not there, they would not be existent. And if you just talk about the revenue I have mentioned there, so Uber is around 11.2 billion US dollar revenue 2018, and Ola is 320 million US dollar. So this kind of revenue they are able to generate because they are working on a feature which is Google Maps, which we could get because we spent on the research on the satellites and on the related science and technology inventions. So that's why I think that research is one of the biggest area that has the immense potential of social impact. But if we just see it as a something which is just we are wasting money and everything, then we are not looking at it from the all perspectives. So but one research, yeah, I agree that out of 10 to 20 research papers that are published every year or innovations made every year, we may say that hardly one or two will be useful. But those one or two, the kind of impact that they are making will by far compensate the cost of those 10, 20 non-useful research papers by huge amount. So that's why I would like to say that research is the first very important way of making a social impact. Second, now we come to the earning to give part. So what does it mean? So what it means is that everybody is not capable of starting some NGO or doing some social impact in a direct terms, right? But me as a person, if I am working as a marketing manager in some company, and if I am just able to donate some amount of money from my salary to some organization which helps in eradication of malnutrition in some poor country, which helps poor children get some educational aid and materials and books, so that is another way I am touching the lives and I am making a very positive impact in the people's lives. So I don't need not necessarily be always involved directly in the things, but I can earn myself and then I can donate. So earn and donate some part of it, which we usually anyways do when we see some social campaign, somebody asking even the blood donation rights and everything, that people are willing to donate and anything. So these are the things which we naturally do. So this is also one of the way of making social impact, and where you don't necessarily have to be seen working, but you can indirectly help financially and with your time. For example, I used to work with an organization which had several data analysts working with them. It was an NGO, so there are several data analysts working with them, and they were already employed in some different organizations. So they used to give their Saturday, Sundays 4 hours each, so like 8 hours per week, to this NGO, and then they would analyze all the reports and all the data that this NGO got for their work. So that's this volunteering and then earning in your own domain and just giving some time or money to the more tangible things is also one very good way. So second is that. Third important aspect that I would like to come to is the entrepreneurship. Obviously, no question. So The how entrepreneurship and the big businesses make the social impact is that first is job creation. Now, because they have built, they as in the big businessmen and any entrepreneur, because he or she has built a business, he or she is able to employ many people. Those many people are able to get the food for their family and income, and give better lives to their families. So that's the very wonderful kind of social impact that they are making. Plus, big organizations are paying corporate taxes to the government, so definitely they are helping the economy as well, no doubt. So job creation, paying taxes, then big organizations also have corporate social responsibility activities, that is CSR activities. By that they make more tangible and more seen and visible impact. So that is one way. Then we have people like Azim Premji and Ratan Tata, who also run the scholarships. Even OP Jindal, we have OP James scholarship, we have Tata scholarships for students from underprivileged and marginalized background. So they are doing philanthropy, they are creating jobs, they are paying taxes. So just the whole amount of social work and social impact being done there. So contrary that which I have said in the start of the video, that the people who earn a lot of money by doing businesses are often criticized by the masses, that they are just greedy for money and they are just working for money and everything. But if you look at the kind of impact that they are able to make, it's humongous. I mean, the if we take again the example of Tata Group, they have multiple subsidiaries, and like so we have Tata for manufacturing of cars, we have Tata for manufacturing of salt, we have different products there. So even one subsidiary around employs 80,000 to 1 lakh people. And if you assume that, if we even say that out of those 1 lakh, 70-80% would be the bread winners of their family. So this whole families are completely dependent on the one person's vision, one person's mission of having more and more growth in terms of market. So this is the third thing. One first was research, second was earning to give, and third I mentioned right now is entrepreneurship. Now, next important area, which often is very indirect, but we should look upon, is advocacy. So what we mean by advocacy is that you take any social problem, may it can be climate change, it can be poverty, it can be lack of education in developing and underdeveloped countries, it can be terrorism, it can be anything like domestic violence. You can take any problem and you can just pick that up and you can start advocating about that problem. By advocating, what I mean is that you take a stand for it and you make other people aware that, see, this is the problem that exists, we need to work on it and we need to do something about it. So I will give you an example, and how mathematically we can look into it. Let's say Virat Kohli, who again is doing good job in his career. He is playing for country. He is earning money and he is happy with himself. No direct social work as such. But imagine he puts a tweet which says that there is this recently there is this Assam floods, and there is a lot of help was sought from the Assam chief minister as well for relief fund and everything. So imagine he puts a single tweet which says that I urge all the followers and all the people who like my post and who follow me on Twitter to donate at least something, even if 10 rupees, 50 rupees to the Assam floods. It will be a great help for them to rehabilitate. Now, if we observe the Twitter of Virat Kohli, we will see that around on average 1 lakh people either make favorites to his tweet or like his tweet or comment. So even from these 1 lakh people, if let's say even 50,000, or let's say forget 50,000, let's say only 10%, even 10,000 people also think that okay, or get motivated that okay, I should give the donation, or because I saw that Virat Kohli mentioned and I agree that it's a very pressing issue and we should help. So, and even if those 10,000 people just say donate hardly 50 rupees, so 10,000 to 50, 5 lakh rupees donation. Now this 5 lakh rupees donation is just by one single tweet of Virat Kohli. So we say that one tweet of Virat Kohli is worth of 5 lakh rupees? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. But the point here is that uh, oftentimes the social impact is not seen upfront, and we have to go deeper and we have to think from all aspects. And most importantly, we have to address the intangibles. so that we can actually see what is happening here. So the key takeaways, I would say, would be the concept of social impact should be seen in four major criteria. First is research, second is earning to give or direct donations, then entrepreneurship, and then advocacy. If we can get all these things, we will see that there are a lot of ways that we can be socially aware and become the better persons. And the key takeaways from point of view of economic consist of today is we saw that how a seemingly intangible and seemingly subjective and qualitative thing can be quantified. The example of Uber and Ola's revenue being dependent on Google Maps, which indeed is dependent on the research on satellites, or the example of Virat Kohli's one tweet being worth of 5 lakh rupees donation to the Assam Relief Fund. So by this we can say that how economist thinks about the social problems and about the world in general, and if we can inculcate this thinking in ourselves, then it will be very interesting and fun to learn this subject. So thank you. I hope you gain some new perspectives and insights like I did. Thank you.